Hello folks, welcome. Thanks for coming out today. Hey, young lady. Friday, March the 16th. Here at Taney County in Branson, Missouri at the Golden Corral. And we'd like to start the meeting off with, Brian, would you say a quick prayer for us, please?
Yep, I'll do that. Remain seated for the prayer. Father, we just thank you for time and opportunity to gather as Republicans to build up our friendships and discuss the issues of the day. Father, I'd like to take a moment of silence for former Governor and Senator Kip Bond that will lay in state in the Capitol, I think, on Tuesday. A great servant of the people here in the state of Missouri. And Father, I ask that you allow us to take that moment of silence at this time. Thank you, Father. Guide our thoughts and our speech the rest of the day, and bless the food for the nourishment of our bodies. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Hiram, would you mind starting us in the pledge? And sir, if you can't, don't get up, it's all right.
I'm not going to be able to.
No worries, Marie.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks. So today we were going to have Stephanie talk a little bit about previous election results. She's tried to get to every meeting that happens, and she was today on the way out, couldn't make it. So we're just going to wing it today and let our people that are in the room, that are candidates, representative candidates, go ahead and speak. Office holders, I should say. I don't think no one's running everybody at the moment. And I will start that off with Representative Sice. What I was going to say is, as far as Kip Bond, is kind of odd. I remember my very first memory of Kip Bond. And I was a very young guy, and I always liked maps. You know how they put the governor on the map. And so I remember, I don't know why, I guess because I had a spirit of adventure or something, but I could remember his face on that map. I was like, well, who's this guy? You know, and Dad explained it to me. Anyway, but I want to shut up now. I know that we've got Brian, and then we've got Daniel, and then we've got Jody that's got some important information, so I'm going to get out and let the important people take over. Go ahead, Brian.
All right, thank you, Stan. I'm going to try to speak loudly enough that they can hear me there. I've let my health go for the past few weeks to get things done, and I'll recuperate over the weekend. Some things I want to talk about in brief. We did pass in the Senate night before last HJR 73, which is the repeal of Amendment 3. That will be signed by the governor shortly, or at least by August, and that will allow the voters to decide what they want in our Missouri Constitution. Amendment 3 was very vague. I don't think most people, if they did vote for it, voted for abortion on demand at 9 months, removing safety factors for women, allowing little boys to be turned into little girls and vice versa. That's not what people were thinking when they voted for Amendment 3, but that's what they got. So I mirrored my legislation off of Senator Adam Schnelting's legislation, and that passed through the House, and it was passed in the Senate via the use of PQ. PQ is a legislative tool that, just like a teeter-totter, it balances the filibuster. People in the Senate can filibuster the journal in the morning. They can filibuster for whatever they want. And because of our rules, they can stand there and talk about nothing for hours and hours and days and days. This gives the PQ, moving the previous question, gives the majority party the opportunity to pass what they would consider to be good legislation. And HJR 73 was that good legislation. We also used that, or the Senate used that, to remove from Proposition A I call it a paid vacation, but paid sick leave, from forcing businesses to give people a certain amount of hours a week and so forth a month. I've already heard from business owners that are saying, because you don't have to give a doctor's note, you don't have to say why you're sick, that you're supposed to be in at 9 and I'm not going to be in until 11. Okay? But you can't open your business if the cashier's not there. You can't serve food if your waitresses aren't there. It's already starting to happen. And if you have a theater, say a theater has 100 employees, and they have to give everybody this week paid off, they're going to have to fire at least 3 to 4 people to pay for everybody else having this time off. It's not good for the economy. It's horrid for Branson, Missouri.
Brian, I want to ask a quick question.
Yes.
Because I know a hotel business that's worried about this.
Right.
If they say, hey, I got to go to the doctor and want to go to the doctor, shouldn't they have to use that sick leave for that?
Yes, they have to use that sick leave, but they don't have to prove they're going to the doctor. Their dog could be sick.
Okay.
I'm not feeling that well today. I'm not going to come in till 1 o'clock.
Okay.
If you're a barber and you have 5 or 6 barber chairs and the guy wants to go play golf, he can call in sick and go play golf, and the business owner is not making any money because the chair is empty, and he still has to pay that guy. We removed that again in the Senate, and I spoke very fervently on the floor about its removal in the House. So HAR 73 and that other one, HAR 73 was mine. Big. You'll see that on the ballot November of 2026. I passed my bill. I'm adding it to several bills, House bills and Senate bills, removing the non-disclosure agreements for victims of child sexual abuse from being judicially enforceable. What was happening was, if the kid was abused at maybe in a theme park or a summer camp or something like that, that business was throwing them a little money. You're a lower income family, $5,000, $8,000. We know this horrible, evil thing happened to your kid, but we really don't want you to talk about it. So they hand him a bit of money. One kid, his name's Trey Carlock. He had his college degree. He had a successful life coming, but he felt he could never speak about what happened to him as a child because of those agreements that his parents signed, and he killed himself. That happens. To heal, you have to talk about it. You have to get some help, and that will be removed from being judicially enforceable. I passed, for 3 years I've been running these bills, the Omnibus Tourism Bill. Probably about 30 pieces of legislation. Some of it simple, naming of roads and bridges for police officers that have passed, military heroes and so forth. Waverly now is going to be known as the Apple Capital of Missouri. So when they have their big festival, more people come in. I think might be Carthage, I could be wrong. Maybe it's Concordia, will be the mural capital of Missouri. Branson should be able to compete for that, but everywhere you go, they've got beautiful murals painted. I passed within that legislation, Branson, and the governor should be signing it by August, Branson as the live entertainment capital of Missouri. Live entertainment starts with our live music shows, but entertainment, according to my wife, is also shopping. Okay? Entertainment are the attractions, the roller coasters that go up and down, and the Ferris wheels go around in a circle. The lakes, if you're skiing, or if you're just on a pontoon boat, or if you're just fishing, that's entertainment. So businesses can now use Branson as the official live entertainment capital of Missouri. It doesn't cost the government a cent. It doesn't cost us anything to pass it, and yet it will help our community. So those are some of the big ones that I got on. I voted no just a couple of days ago. We had a bill sprung on us. They were wanting to give what would add up to almost $1 billion to the Kansas City Chiefs to refurbish, rebuild, do all sorts of things around their stadium area. I don't mind that in one sense because the Chiefs are an economic driver. They bring in about $54 million a year into the state coffers, and the plan was to give it back to them so they can reinvest for 30 years or 10 years, whatever it was. And to me, that money should go for, if it's put in the general fund, that's for the individual Missouri citizen. That's for statewide activities. Do we need to subsidize billionaires who could build whatever stadium they want to build? I just think, and I could have voted yes, but 2 days before session ended, they sprung it on us. We have been talking about that all year. And they said, well, what's the bottom line? What monies are going to be coming in? What are the expenditures? What are we looking at to receive as profit? They said, we can't tell you until you pass the bill. That's what they said. They do that in Washington, D.C. They tell you, we can't tell you what's in the budget until you pass the budget. So from my point of view, I love it as an economic driver. I support the chiefs, especially here in Branson. But if they're not going to tell us what we're spending and what we're gaining and all the figures till after we pass it, I have to say no. And the Senate did not take it up, and it doesn't exist. So the governor's going to call a special session. Maybe he'll come up with a better deal. I don't want the Chiefs and the Royals, well, Royals can go wherever they want. I don't want the Chiefs moving to Kansas. But if they have to move the stadium 20 miles away in Kansas, and they're still the Kansas City Chiefs, we can drive 20, we just won't be receiving that revenue. So maybe a deal can be worked out that doesn't cost the taxpayer money. So there we go on that one. Let's see, I wrote something down here. Brad Hudson, probably more instrumental in it, and Daniel may mention this, but I wrote the letters and I talked to our budget chair too. We received, after the governor signs it, $4 million more for the Highway 76 project. Even today, I didn't hit a guy because he had pressed the button and the lights were blinking and there's the crosswalk and he made it across. Had those not been there, I'm just like everybody else, I'm just getting where I'm going. Those safety factors, more lighting on Highway 76. Can you imagine crossing from the Titanic? I watched a lady with kids and a dog and a stroller crossing from the Titanic to Clay Cooper's theater. That's a massive, everybody going and moving. So we should be receiving, or it passed in the budget, that $4 million. I want to tell you, the last thing I want to say, I get a lot of hits for my pro-life stand, and that's one of the reasons a month and a half ago I said, you guys aren't moving the legislation. I want it. I said, me, period, I'll get it done. 50% of the House said, no, you can't get it done, and so forth. There wasn't a whole lot of belief. I knew I could get it done. I knew what God put me up there for, and it's to do something like this. So the attacks come to me, I'll get 100 emails a day telling me I'm the most horrible creature on the planet, that I should be aborted, and all this other kind of stuff, evil stuff that I won't say. This is being recorded. Then they called my wife. That is a problem. That's where I draw the line. A lady on Facebook had been putting it on Facebook, Twitter, all over social media about how terrible and evil I am. I never talked to a lady in my life. She was mad I wouldn't return her phone calls. Somebody calls you and cusses at you and says all sorts of evil lies that they made up. I'm not calling them back. You know, I got better stuff to do with my day. So after probably 50 to 100 phone calls, she started calling and harassing my wife. We reverse engineered the telephone and found out she was a realtor in Columbia. This is not somebody living in their basement. This is a Missouri realtor. And we contacted the company. I won't even name the name of the company. They fired her that day. And they issued a letter of apology to us, and they want to meet with me to apologize face to face. There's part of their contract that they can't do that sort of thing. Anybody can, you know, there's a free speech right, but it becomes harassment when it's over and over. I can't even say the horrible things she said should be done to me, and this is by the party of tolerance. And the Democratic Party of Missouri has issued an apology to me for her actions. So at a time they could be hitting me because I'm pro-life and I passed this legislation, and they could be hitting me left, right. They're actually apologizing to me. So what the devil means for evil, God means for good. And Kit Bond, the only thing I want to say there, I met him a couple times. I started to become active in Republican politics in the mid to late 1980s when I went to SMS in Springfield. And I never knew him politically, but he was always very congenial, nice, willing to say hi, and it wasn't fake. You could see he was a nice guy. And people in the House of Representatives gave their memories of him that knew him. One day he was mowing his lawn. You know, he had grass clippings all over, and he had raggedy shorts and a raggedy t-shirt and tennis shoes, and he was mowing his lawn, and someone came along and had no idea who he was or anything, said, "You're doing a really good job," and they wanted him to hire him, and he was governor. They wanted to hire him to mow their lawn, and that's the type of person he was. He was a regular guy. He was a statesman. He did great for the state of Missouri, but he was just a regular guy doing his thing. And I thought that was kind of a funny story that someone told about him. He'll lie in state. I could be wrong, but I think it's Tuesday in the Capitol, and the flags will be flown at half-mast, and then they'll have public ceremonies and so forth to remember Kent Bond. So great Missouri statesman.
When I had my business back in the 80s and 90s, my business partners from Ladue, and they knew the Bonds really well. In fact, she visited with Kent and his wife quite often.
Right.
And they really were good people.
Sure. And that's what I've heard. So keep Valerie in your prayers. To have a woman say she was glad that my wife got cancer and it was karma for how terrible I am. I wasn't even, I was barely in the state house then. I guess I was terrible all my life. But to say things like that on Facebook and then call her on her phone, it's evil. And we're going to pray for that woman. I told the news media that, and we did today, because I tore the bumper off my front of the car in parking in the parking garage, and I've been parking it for 5 years, yesterday, and we prayed with the owner of the Bender's Body Shop, and he prayed for that woman too. So that's what we'll do. Maybe her eyes will be opened and so forth. We don't want to cause anyone any harm, but they cannot attack our families. They can attack us. They can attack Jody, even though nobody would ever attack Jody. But I get it. So anyway, any other questions, comments, concerns? I'm ready to recoup. I let myself go, so I need to rest. I've never said that my whole life. I do. Yes.
Do you have any idea when the special session will?
Special session should be in early June, as if they call it, because the Senate Democrats are currently in an uproar. They don't want to help the governor. They don't want to help anyone because of HJR 73 passing and the use of the previous question to stop them from speaking. But they'll call a special session. It'll have to be narrowly tailored to one issue. That's up to the governor, but it would be in early June if he does it. They're going to have to work out a heck of a lot better deal for me to vote yes, because that's taxpayer money. And nobody gave us over at the car wash any money to build the car wash. We had to build it ourselves. Are the chiefs an economic driver? Absolutely. If we can find a way to keep them here, let's do it, not using taxpayer dollars. So anyway, that's it. Thank you,
Brian. Brian, yes, rest up. Wherever the kryptonite is, your back pocket, get it away from you.
Yeah.
Take the weekend off, get built back up, okay? Next speaker is going to be Daniel Seitz, Representative Brad Hudson. Come on up, Daniel. Thanks, sir.
All right, I'll make it quick. We had a great first session for Brad in the Senate. Got a lot of great things done. I would say a great session even for somebody who was a senior in the Senate in his first year. He's been able to build a lot of great relationships, very trusted by leadership. If you ever come to the Senate while we're in session, oftentimes you'll see Brad running the dais. He's one of the only people, only 3 or 4 who do it in rotation, and as a freshman they've trusted him to really be able to kind of run things in the Senate quite often. We got a bill to the governor's desk, Senate Bill 160, that establishes some religious freedom on college campuses for student groups. So what it is in Iowa a couple of years ago, there was a lawsuit that came about because a student group said, we aren't going to let just anyone in leadership. We're going to make people have to believe the way we believe to be leaders of our campus group. which makes total sense. You should have to believe the way that the group believes to be leadership of your campus group. You shouldn't be able to be an atheist and be leader of the, Christian athletes group. And so Iowa said, no, you can't do that. Well, the University of Iowa got sued. University of Iowa is a public university, so the state was on the hook for, I think, $2 million once the lawsuit got lost in this Christian group. So currently in Missouri, we don't have any laws on the books that say anything about that. The universities here have said, they're not going to discriminate, and, these groups get to choose their own leadership. But we wanted to codify that because you can say it all the time, but that doesn't stop new university leadership from getting in and changing that policy. And so this is a piece of legislation that's been run for almost a decade in Missouri. Eric Burleson, who's a congressman now, has had it. Anna Kelly, who had been a representative, had it. Senator Hudson carried it in the House, where he was a representative, and now in the Senate. And we finally got it to the governor's desk. We don't know for sure yet if the governor's going to sign it, and that's not because of that piece of legislation. There were amendments that got put on in the House. We wanted the bill to go through clean. There were amendments that got put on in the House, and one of those amendments was a deal between the University of Missouri and Missouri State about Missouri State being able to have graduate programs. The deal was they were going to get that legislation, and there was a piece in the budget that was going to be funding for Mizzou for cancer research. The funding for Mizzou for cancer research was in a House bill that didn't get passed. And so we had a conversation with the governor. He's very supportive of our legislation, loves the bill. It was part of a deal, and so it's going to be tough. There are about 3 bills right now that are in limbo because of that piece. And so we are hopeful that the governor will still sign it, and we can work on a different way to get that funding to the University of Missouri, because that's a great piece of legislation. There are great amendments on it as well. One that's an anti-hazing amendment for college campuses too. So we're hoping to get that signed. Budget-wise, Representative Seitz mentioned this. We had $6.2 million last year in the budget for the 76 project. Secured another $4 million this year for the 76 project, as well as getting that 6.2 to be carried over. Because what happens oftentimes is you'll fund a project, but the funds don't get expended until the project gets started and approved and you get rolling. And so I know that city government has been waiting on a couple of easements on 76 from one property owner before they can start the project totally. And so we needed to carry over those funds from last year to make sure that they still have that secured for capital improvements. In addition to that, I've got another couple of projects in this area. Road improvements near the Branson Airport. So out by where Thunder Ridge is in Big Cedar, there are problems with the way the road operates there because of the concerts and the events that they have out at Thunder Ridge. And so there need to be some improvements and some changes made over there. So we helped secure funding in the budget. I believe that was $2 million. And what that's going to do is MoDOT's not taking over that road, but the funding is going to the county for the county to be able to do the work that's necessary to make that a more accessible kind of roadway there.
Is that 86?
I think is it 86? I think it's right by 86 because it's 86 and then it's also the airport road up to the airport by the golf course. So they're doing all the work right there on that stretch to make that better traffic-wise, getting up to Thunder Ridge. Kirbyville School has a problem with the way that their turn lanes going into the school. There was an issue with traffic and some safety issues over there. So we helped secure some funding for that as well to fix that issue. And that'll be something that we're hopeful that the governor will keep in. Shepherd of the Hills State Park and Table Rock State Park, we got funding in the budget for improvements at those parks.
We can go visit it sometime before I die.
That is the hope. That is the hope.
I
So
think it's open now.
Shepherd,
At least the fish hatchery.
the fish hatchery is open. The Shepherd of the Hills State Park, there's $170,000 in the budget for that. And Table Rock State Park, there's $663,000 in the budget for that. So overall, just a really great year. We helped Representative Seitz with the NDA language. It's the first time that the NDAs have been run in Missouri, so first time got it to the governor on multiple bills. hopeful that that'll be signed to protect kids from having to sign NDAs when they're abused as children. We worked with Representative Seitz on an increase in the statute of limitations for children who've been assaulted to be able to bring lawsuits, civil lawsuits against their, not only the people who assaulted them, but the third parties who allow the assault. That didn't get across the finish line, but it did get another step in the process because it never had a hearing in the Senate before in a Senate committee. Senator Hudson got a hearing for that legislation in the Senate, and we passed it out of the Senate committee, so we're hopeful that next year we can get a deal in place to get that passed, get that across the finish line, protect kids. In addition to that, I had a couple of things. We have 7 counties in the Senate district. So we've got Taney, Stone, Douglas, Ozark, Howell, Shannon, and Texas. And so we've got quite a bit of stuff that we did for those other counties as well. So we're pretty proud of the way that this session has gone, excited for the summer and into the fall and the veto session and the next session as we continue to move forward, but very happy with how everything went this year.
Good job.
Hey Daniel, I know you know Peter Kinder. Can you say a little bit about that and the position he's taken?
Peter Kinder is a friend of mine. I've known Peter Kinder for over a decade. I worked on his campaign in 2016. What a lot of people don't know, and it's recency bias, because oftentimes you only know what you've heard from somebody recently, or you only know what you may have seen from something recently. A lot of people don't understand that Peter Kinder is one of the only reasons that Missouri has a supermajority of Republicans now. 25 years ago, in the early 2000s and the late 90s, Peter Kinder was part of the minority in the Senate as a Republican. He helped lead the conservative swing here in Missouri. He helped get past a lot of the conservative policies that we're now benefiting from now, tax cuts and things like that. And he helped Republicans take back, secure, and maintain the supermajority. And so Peter's now the state chair of the Republican Party. It was contentious. It was a contentious. We've had some contentious conventions and contentious state convention. But the important thing and the thing to always remember about Republicans is Ronald Reagan said it. The person who agrees, I think, with 7 out of 10 things that you believe is your 70% friend, not your 30% enemy. We need to find ways to work through our differences and find and embrace our commonalities rather than just hyper-focusing on the 1 or 2 things where we're different on and saying, because we're different on these, we can never come together. And so Peter is somebody who is very interested in helping Republicans maintain the majority, helping get great conservative legislation across the board as state chair, and he's somebody that I personally know to be a strong conservative Republican who has served our state well for decades and is serving well in the position as party chair. And I'm willing to have that conversation with anybody who has questions, because I know, again, with the invention of social media and everything that's out there, every opinion can always get shared. Sometimes those opinions are based in fact, and sometimes those opinions are based on the fact that someone woke up that day and wanted to say something, and they have no idea whether it's true or not. And that rings true for the left, it rings true for the right, and so it's good to be able to have these conversations to get to what the truth is. That's what we've been able to do in the Capitol this session. That's what Senator Hudson has really been dependent on by everyone. They come to our office and they always get the truth. They don't get a spin. If we don't think we can vote for a bill, we tell people. We tell a lobbyist, we tell a legislator. We'll be totally honest. That there was a time where we voted against a bill while Senator Hudson was running the dais, and the next person who came up to run the dais was the author of the bill that he just voted against. And he said, hey, I just got to tell you, this is the reason I had to vote against this. I've got some people in my district who are concerned. I just wanted to let you know. We're unafraid to shy away from when we have to say no, but we love being able to find ways to work towards a yes, if we can get there and if it makes sense, both from a personal value standpoint and a district, what do the constituents want standpoint. And so I think that finding that commonality is important. That's something that Peter has prided himself on for decades now, and that he continues to work towards. And so I'm a good guy, good man. Wish he would have been governor in 2016. I know you don't stand, and you got your way on that one. I didn't get my way. That's okay. I support him, and I was proud to congratulate him when he won, and I think that he's doing a great job so far.
Anybody else for Daniel? Thank you, sir.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate that, and I never got to know Peter. One thing I've always done in politics is I don't take it personal, even though I'm a person. It's hard not to, and I try to remind the candidates not to take it personal, because I can like somebody and I can like somebody else, and just like Brad, I told him I'll do anything he needs, and I always will. It's situations like that where we've got to come together as a party, because we're right now what I call the cat's cradle, and usually after that there's problems. You watch every time a party is successful for 8 years or so, there's just chaos. I don't want to see us tear ourselves apart, because we've got way too many on the other side doing that to us, okay? Our next speaker is Miss Jody Stahl from the Recorder's Office, and she's got an important event she'd like to announce. Come on up, Jody.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to talk to you as your friend, not as recorder. OCAC, I am involved with that organization. It's a wonderful organization in Branson, or in Taney County actually, that helps the poor of the county, and they are somewhat government funded, but mostly funds from your pockets are what help them then help the poor. So we're having our second annual cornhole event, the first Saturday in June. That's June 7th. What does the time say?
10 a.m.
I think?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Come play your best cornhole. It's $40 to enter per team. If you want to sponsor a lane, it's we'll take more. So. Okay, now as recorder, something we're excited about recorders in the state is hopefully governor signing the House Bill 737, and that's the child marriage law that increases the age to 18. It means you can't be married until you're 18. Right now it's 16 or 17 can marry someone less than 21. And if that's confusing to you, it's confusing to us too. We have to require that we have parent permission from at least one parent. I require both parents. Webster County kind of got in a pickle when they only required one parent, and then the father found out the parents were not together, and the father was very upset. And so that recorder then had to flank that complaint, which I'm not very fond of doing either. So hopefully the governor will sign that, and we don't have to worry about that anymore. And also, I know some people struggled with that because their parents were married at a very young age, and they've been married for a very long time. But you can't get divorced until you're 18, because you can't legally apply for a divorce unless you're emancipated, and then you have to go to court. Anyway, it was a big mess. And if someone married at 16 and they entered into an abusive relationship, they had to stick it out until they were 18, until they could legally get away. So, it's just, let's not allow that. Let's just wait till we're 18. Your brain is better formed. You can make better decisions. Well, some people can make better decisions. Anyway, so the recorder's office also, we're promoting property fraud alert. We have an early notification system. Right now, that's the best thing out there. There was a representative who tried to pass legislation that was putting burden on recorders and a lot of other unintended consequential systems in the whole process. So right now, this is what we've got. It's an early notification system. It's free. It's put out by our provider, so all of our county records are handled by this company anyway. You're not selling your information. You'll get a notification if anything is filed in your name, and you can call my office and say, hey, I'm not familiar with this. I got a notification. What is it? We'll tell you what it is. If it's fraudulent, you can immediately call the sheriff, call your bank, and freeze all of your assets until it gets taken care of. There was a case in, oh, what county was that? Dallas, no, it's next to us. Anyway,
Stone, Ozark, Christian,
no,
Oh,
no.
Cedar. Anyway, the county.
Anyway, it went all the way to closing. This gentleman presented fake ID of the impersonated the seller. It closed electronically, which happens a lot, and it's mostly safe. But if you've never met the person and you're looking at their ID and it says you're that person, okay, I'll go with it. Documents got recorded. When the closer had one more question for the seller, a red flag went up, and then they bolted. They couldn't answer the question right before she sent the money. Thank goodness. But the documents got recorded. So there is legislation that, or a law that will allow you to fast track a fraudulent recording. So it moves to the front of the line in the court system. They got a judgment right away. Within 3 weeks, they recorded that, and so the deal was dead. No money was lost, but it was a bad thing. Caused heartburn for a lot of people. And there's really nothing I can do to stop it. If it meets my recording requirements, I have to record it. So anyway, property fraud alert, and that's about it. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it, Jody, and I would like to say in her support, please go to the Taney County website, recorder's office, and please sign up for that on your property, guys. I'm signed up on all of our properties and a church property that I'm treasurer of, just in case someone tries to make a land grab there, you never know. So guys, that's it for today.
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
You've heard of the Taney County 100 Club? A lot of you guys are part of it, I know. On the 1st of July, they're going to do a Heroes Way proclamation and put up some signs for two people that died a long time ago in Taney County. One is Captain Branson. He was the first sheriff, and his constable is Edward Funk. Have no clue anything about him, except that he's 21. He was 21 years old. They were killed on the 4th of July at Kirbyville Park or whatever it is up on the hill. And they're going to honor them by putting a couple of signs, and it will be at the Kirbyville Elementary School right on 76th. And I mean, he was Galba Branson was the brother of Branson, who started the town of Branson. So if any of you can do it.
Sounds like a new historical event. And
Yeah.
anytime you got a law enforcement officer getting killed, even if it's 150 years ago,
Well,
120 years ago, 100 years
was
ago.
1898.
1889. Basically, Branson and Funk were part of the ball numbers, or supportive of the ball numbers. And it was the anti-ball number people that killed them. They were the 4th of July picnic.
And you know, that's a very interesting, sad, good, and what, in the beginning, it was a good thing. They protected each other, protected their neighbors. Then it turned into more of an outlaw organization. In faction, there's actually 2 sets eventually of ball knobbers. And I know exactly what you're talking about. So guys, that's gonna be it today. I would like to mention, Flag Day, we're gonna have a Republican event. The Central Committee is actually doing it. We're just assisting, but we're gonna be there. I know Shane and maybe me will be at the Forsyth one, and then at Branson later that day. We're gonna be handing out free flags to everybody.
The
Gets me.
Forsyth one was canceled
Gotcha.
due
So,
to the flood.
well, you know, that would be kind of hard having a shuttle on fire right now, unless you have frog soup. So I got it. So the Forsyth one will be canceled, and let me put it this way: within a week or so, you'll get an update. Yes, sir, Dan.
The governor announced that he is calling a special session for the stadium funding this morning.
Oh, awesome.
He had
Did
a
he
press-
say when, or
he had a
just-
press conference. He said he doesn't have a specific date in June. It'll probably be the first or second week in June. He didn't guarantee whether it would also include the funding that was in House Bill 19 that I talked about with Brad's Senate Bill 160 that we needed, or if it would include potentially a property tax cut as well.
So to repeat what Daniel just said, folks, on the internet, because we do have some noise going on outside, Governor Kehoe just announced that he was going to have a special session to relook at any bill involving the Kansas City Chiefs stadium situation. We would love to keep them in Missouri, but I'm exactly like Brian. No matter how much I love the Chiefs, no matter how much money, anybody that hands me something that says sign it, don't read it. I've done that with my marriage license. Oh, Jody. Ron was watching, I know, because I see the viewers on there, so I'm in trouble later. God bless you all. We'll see you June, I don't have my phone, first Friday in June. Is it the 3rd? Second?
First Friday is the 6th.
The 6th. Well, I was way off. So first Friday in June is 6th. We'll be at Forsyth or Cocker Restaurant. And then the 3rd Friday of the month, we'll be back here. Guys, have a great day. Happy Memorial Day.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Don't forget to